Makerere University, mentoring many legal professionals and authoring several books on constitutional law and governance. Family was central in his life. He is survived by children and grandchildren, and who he described as his strength and joy. Justice Kanyehamba died at the age of 86 of prostate cancer. Justice Kanyehamba remained strong in spirit, dedicated to justice, and was a father figure to many in the legal fraternity. He leaves a legacy of defending the Constitution and advocating for a just society. Indeed, may he rest in peace and may his legacy live on. Good morning to you. Indeed, as we continue to mourn as a country, the show still goes on here, and we are here to keep you updated. My name is Julie Nantabamsisi once again, and I am with Robert Chirabo Nyonyintana. Good morning, Robert.
Oh, a lovely morning to you, Julie, and our viewer. It is a sad day, we must say, when you talk about constitutionalism, rule of law, and a person who feared nothing but would speak what was right according to his knowledge and, of course, his sense of belief. Now, that is Justice Kanyehamba. I just want to take you through 2 or 3 landmark decisions where we saw him. Now, he's a man who dared where many could not dare. Now, in 2006, that is the presidential election petition filed by Dr. Kizza Besigye, where he descended with the trial justices and ruled that the elections did not comply with the presidential laws. Now think about that. He came out profound, and even after the ruling itself, he continued to speak on various interviews that this, according to him and according to his knowledge of the law, this wasn't right. But also, I remember the case, I think it was Andrew Mwenda versus the Attorney General, where Andrew Mwenda and others versus the Attorney General, where he came out right and profoundly and ruled that freedom of the press should be respected at all times. And he said the media should be given its rights to exercise. Now, when even he had retired now, this is a man who came out and filed a petition against His Excellency. Remember that time when the president said that had proposed that capital offenders should not be given bail. At least let them be in for 6 months, you know, but you're giving someone bail. What about the people he has offended? Then also think twice when he moves out there. Is this justice? Then he has the ability to antagonize and disorganize the entire investigation and proceedings of court. Now he came out, though this petition was dismissed, but he came out and he took it on. So he's a person that I know the legal fraternity has missed and will miss so much, because he wrote so many books, most on constitutionalism and policy. He mentored so many. I think he last made it to the media when he practically openly came out and declared his support for Robert Kyagulanyi Ssentamu. That is, I think, when I remember him on headlines so much, Justice Kanyehamba shows, and he went ahead and proclaimed his support for him. But I must say, Uganda has lost a great son to this country. There's so much the young lawyers will have to learn about him, and there's so much those in the judiciary now in practice that they must learn from him. He lives a life well spent, I must say, and his legacy will continue.
Indeed, speaking of legacies, his legacy is a footprint that is permanent and one that will continue. What do we have on the local scene today?
Well, in the local stories, the president and the Kampala tour. Now, yesterday he was in Lubaga division, and today he's going to be in Makindye. But let's go through this. Now, President Kaguta Museveni started the Kampala Capital City Authority Wealth Creation Tour in Lubaga division. After commissioning Busega Central Market, President Museveni visited Nareso Fausta, a resident of Kibumbiro Zone A in Busega, to assess her PDM success. In company of the First Lady, Janet Kataha Museveni, the afternoon downpour did not stop the president from Kibumbiro, Museveni then proceeded to Natete. In almost all areas where the president passed, crowds gathered on the roadside to receive him. In Natete, Museveni visited Bakitende garage operators in company of the First Lady, and the president toured and appreciated the garage. Thereafter, he convened a local meeting to interact with the community. In the garage, the operators informed the president about their challenges, and in turn, Museveni offered relief. However, reiterated the need for Lubaga division to support the NRM government. For Lubaga South constituency, Museveni said he knows little about their leaders. The president ended his address by urging Lubaga division voters to rebuke politicians who demoralize their wealth creation. Museveni will take the wealth creation drive to Machindia division today. Moving on, Elias Lukwago, the executive chairperson of the People's Front for Freedom Party, PFF, has raised concern over the prolonged incarceration of Dr. Kizza Besigye. He was also concerned about the NRM party chairperson, President Yoweri Museveni, starting campaign ahead of the planned schedule. Lukwago told the media that starting next week, PFF will rally their supporters ahead of the planned campaign schedule. Lukwago also questioned the ongoing PDM tours, which he said give President Museveni a head start in the presidential race. He said starting next week, PPF will also start their movements within Kampala. Meanwhile, nominations for the PFF party candidates are still ongoing, and different party members are still being nominated on different positions. The Electoral Commission roadmap shows that nominations for presidential and parliamentary elections will be conducted between September 17th and October 3rd, 2025, and campaigns will officially commence in the second week of October 2025. The country and the legal fraternity have lost a judicial officer who made landmark decisions to drive the country's judiciary. The judiciary, through its spokesperson, His Worship James Elemie Mawanda, expressed its condolence for the loss of retired Justice of the Supreme Court, Professor George Wilson Kanyehamba, who played a pivotal role in uplifting the image of the judiciary during his tenure as a judicial officer. Judiciary also sent condolence message to the entire family of the late and the country at large for losing such a person who has contributed a lot to the country's development in the legal way. The Office of the Director of Public Prosecution also sent its condolence. Others who applauded the works of Professor George Kanyehamba was the Vice President of the Uganda Law Society, Anthony Simwe. Other lawyers, including the Attorney General of Busoga Kingdom, Alex Uganda, praised the late Professor Kanyehamba for advocating for the rule of law in the country. At the time of his death, at the age of 86, Professor Kanyehamba was a retired Justice of the Supreme Court. With the landmark decision he made was the 2006 presidential election petition filed by Dr. Kizza Besigye, where he dissented with the trial justices and ruled that the elections did not comply with the presidential laws. Other decisions was the one for Andrew Mwenda and the attorney for Andrew Mwenda versus the Attorney General, where he boldly highlighted on the rights of the media in regard to news reporting. After serving as a judiciary officer, Professor Kanyehamba also filed a petition challenging the president's move to scrap off bail for suspects with capital offenses, although the petition was dismissed by the Constitutional Court justices. Professor Kanyehamba was an author and a politician, wrote books in the constitutional and political history in Uganda, commonly by law students in the universities. Finally, from the local scene, as Uganda prepares for the 2026 general elections, the National Economic Empowerment Dialogue, NED, led by Joseph Kabuleta, has fully registered as a political party with a presidential candidate. Kabuleta told UBC that he will start campaigns July 22nd. National Economic Empowerment Dialogue Party was officially entered in the political arena as a fully registered political party. The milestone comes after a month of grassroots mobilization by the party led by former presidential candidate and now party president Joseph Kabuleta. Despite not yet being officially registered at the time, Kabuleta and the NEED team had been traversing the country rallying support for their political agenda. At a press conference following the party's certification by the Electoral Commission, Joseph Kabuleta formally announced his intention to contest for presidency in the forthcoming general elections. Meanwhile, NEED has revealed plans to field candidates at all levels of political leadership in the upcoming elections. NEED said its primary focus is economic empowerment, governance reforms, and restoring the dignity of Ugandans through people-centered policies and leadership. Well, that brings us to the end of our local stories. The president said he didn't know leaders. Serubaga South, now that is Honorable Mukasa Aloysius, a man who is very quiet, I must say.
Oh, wow, but when it comes to tragedy within his constituency, he's always on ground.
But very quiet. I don't remember when he uttered a word on the floor.
On the floor of Parliament, that's right. But let's move on to the foreign scene. And starting off with US President Donald Trump, he has announced the US will send top-of-the-line weapons to Ukraine via NATO countries, while also threatening Russia with severe tariffs if a deal to end the war is not reached within 50 days. We want to make sure Ukraine cannot do what, we want to make sure that Ukraine can do what it wants to do, Trump said following a meeting with NATO Chief Mark Rutte in Washington. Rutte confirmed the US had decided to massively supply Ukraine with what is necessary through NATO, and that the Europeans would foot the bill. European countries will send Kyiv their own Patriot air defense systems, which Ukraine relies on to repel Russia's deadly airstrikes, and replacements will then be used by the US, Trump said. Neither Rutte nor Trump elaborated on the weaponry that will be sent to Kyiv, but Rutte said the deal included missiles and ammunition. However, the president did say top-of-the-line weapons worth billions of dollars would be quickly distributed to battlefield in order to support Ukraine. The Ukrainian President Volodymyr Zelensky said on X that he spoke with Trump after his meeting with Rutte and thanked him for his willingness to support Ukraine and continue working together to stop the killings and establish a lasting and just peace. Now, Andrew Cuomo has said he will run as independent in the race for New York City mayor following a stinging loss to progressive upstart Zoran Mamdani in the Democratic Party primary last month. The former New York State governor, who resigned in 2021 amid sexual harassment allegations, vowed to continue his mayoral bid in a video posted to social media on Monday. Mamdani's 12-point win over Cuomo in the Democratic primary was electrified progressives and pushed pro-business Democrats, wary of his embrace of progressive economic policies and critical stance towards Israel, to seek an alternative after the bruising primary defeat. The general election will take place in November, with Mamdani facing off against Cuomo and incumbent Mayor Eric Adams, who trails in most polls and whose tenure has been marred by a series of corruption scandals. Anti-crime figure Curtis Sliwa will also be in the race as the Republican nominee. Now, on the continent, the world's oldest head of state, that is Cameroon's President Paul Biya, who is 92 years old, has said he will run once more for re-election. That is in October, aiming to extend his 43 years in power. Rest assured that my determination to serve you matches the urgency of the challenges we face, he said in a post on X. He added that his decision to go for an 8th term came after numerous and insistent calls by people from all regions in Cameroon and the diaspora. Biya's administration has faced criticism over allegations of corruption and embezzlement, as well as accusations of bad governance and failure to tackle security challenges. There have been also concerns about his health and ability to govern. His absence from the public for more than 6 weeks last year led to speculation about his well-being and unfounded rumors that he had died. His candidacy was expected but not formally confirmed until Sunday's social media post. Biya has never lost an election since taking power in 1982. And if he wins another 7-year term, he could be president until he is nearly 100 years. Now, there have been growing calls from inside and outside Cameroon for him to step aside and give way for fresh leadership in the Central African nation. His candidacy follows a recent political divorce from key allies from the northern regions who had been crucial in helping secure votes in previous elections from that part of the country. All right, 92 years still running.
Well, what does their constitution say? Is it against their constitution? And second, if the people are still voting for him, you know, many things may morally maybe seem not okay.
Right.
But you see, morals and legality differ. As long as something is legally right, sometimes morals may not come out, because someone may say at the age of 92, for sure, it may not be that very okay for you to perform such as that topmost important job in the country. But it is also something depending on the person's ability.
Right.
If you still feel you can offer yourself to serve your country and the people still feel they can vote for you, you know, always crave for change, but change can be negative or positive. And certain things it's not good to gamble, because you're talking about peace of a country, development of a country. So unless you're very sure, then that happens. But 1982, you weren't born, I weren't born.
Yep.
You weren't yet born, but the man was in power until now.
Oh well, let's leave matters of Cameroonians as we follow them. But let's have a look at what is in the dailies today.
Well, very interesting in the dailies today, but this is at the bottom. I know my good friend there, Ruben. Now here we have U.S. Embassy announces new visa rules. Now for many Ugandans, now you have 3 months visa. It's not going to be the 2 years, and also they are going to be very, very careful with your documents. And I read about 5 people have been arrested by the embassy and handed over to police for forgery of documents. Now still here we have NRM primaries, police issues tough guidelines. This time round, government upgrades 1,700 health centers. And President Museveni commissions Busega Market. Now a tribute, this is to a fallen justice of the Supreme Court, that is Kanyehamba. There's so much there. Now polygamy, not against the law, the Constitutional Court. I know many men here are interested to read about that. Polygamy, not against law, Constitutional Court. What is the court saying there? So women, interest yourself, and also the men as well. Is this a green light? Is this bringing freedom and liberty to those? Of course, I know Judy will quickly pop in and will say, according to the Bible, polygamy is something that is not allowed. It is this, it is that. Then of course another one will come in scriptures and say, show me a man of God who walked with the Lord and many had one wife. So it is a very disturbing thing to talk about.
Interesting indeed.
So take us to the rest of the world, Julie.
Well, looking at what is in the Daily Nation, reckless talk. That is a headline in the Daily Nation, and that's in Kenya. But local, is it loose? I couldn't probably, I had lost my sight there, but loose cannons. With just over 2 years to the next general election, some politicians associated with the Kenya Kwanza administration have started showing seeds of discord with utterances about rigging the 2027 presidential contest. The new IEBC team has denounced their claims, while opposition leaders want action taken on the offenders. And also elections, political leaders make charged declarations during public rallies across the country. Now, looking at what we have in the Citizen, why Tanzania's textile industry is struggling. That is a headline there. And also Tanzania-Somalia move to boost bilateral relations. Also, Samia chairs last cabinet meeting ahead of elections, and how nose disorder can affect child growth learning. Also, Tanzania to continue receiving GPE support, and opposition parties eye disgruntled CCM aspirants. Now, let's have a look at what is in the Gazette today. And in the Gazette, we do have the table of contents there. But quickly moving to the notices, we do have the notice of to all to whom this presents may come greetings. Be it known that on the 29th day of October 2024, Kisa Francis Mabeli, an advocate of the High Court, has been appointed to be a commissioner for oaths under the above mentioned act for so long as he continues to practice as such advocate and commission is not revoked. This is as of the 29th day of October 2024 under Alphonse Chigamoy Owinyi Doro, the Chief Justice. And the other notice is the notice of grant of an exploration license. Hereby notified that exploration license number EL00577, registered as number 003581, has been granted in accordance with the provisions of sections 43 and 47 to Uganda National Mining Company. And this is for a period of 4 years, effective 27th June, and the notice is dated 30th day of June 2025 as under Honorable Dr. Ruth Nankabirwa Sentamu, Minister of Energy and Mineral Development. Also is another notice of grant to Greenstone Resources Limited, and it's been granted a period of 4 years, a license of 4 years, effective 24th March 2025, and that is under Honorable Dr. Ruth Nankabirwa Sentamu, Minister of Energy and Mineral Development. And finally, another notice, grant of an exploration license to Greenstone Resources, and that is for a period of 4 years, effective 24th March 2025, still under Honorable Dr. Ruth Nankabirwa Sentamu, Minister of Energy and Mineral Development. And that brings us to the end of what we have in the dailies. Let's have a short break as we look forward to celebrating World Youth Skills Day, which is today, the 15th of June. Good morning.
Live from UPC Studios in